So how's the squad looking in terms of injuries for the weekend?
Obviously it was a physical game against Ireland. But yeah, everyone seems to be raring to go this week. Last week of the Six Nations. So we're looking forward to it. But it's like building on from last week and that. So boys are in good spirits.
Got named after a bit of a scare and he came off early in the second half. How's he faring?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, he's to be fair to Wayne, he's a warrior, so he keeps going for us. So he's all right. He's banged up, but I think he'd be good to go this week. So everyone seems to be raring to go for this last match. Yeah, it was pleasing. Obviously, we'd like to have the ball a bit more. We want to be scoring points, but the boys, the effort out there in Dublin, it's a tough place to go and get a result. And obviously, we didn't get the result on the weekend, but like to a man, boys just putting their bodies on the line for the jersey. You can't ask much more than that, to be fair.
Sometimes is it as simple as that?
It's a collision sport, isn't it? So the team that wins the most collisions in the match tends to win the game. There's no shying away from that, especially at international rugby. But Steve's obviously come in as the head coach and defence coach, and his structure that he's brought into place. It takes time to sort of bed in, but the boys are they're a good bunch of boys that are willing to learn, and the different combinations, getting used to playing with each other as well. It all sort of takes time, but the growth in the last two games has been really good. It's just we've got to keep progressing. Having a good game against Scotland. The challenge was going away from home and backing that up, and there's no different this week. So, yeah.
How impressed are you with Alex Mann?
Yeah, he's some talent. He's a young man and hell of an engine. He reads the game really well. Both sides of the ball. He's a real good kid to work with. All of them are, to be fair. But his stats from the weekend, it's unbelievable. He broke the record for the most tackles or something in the Six Nations. So. You've got to have that will and want to keep putting your body in front of that, and he's got that in abundance. So he deserves sort of the plaudits he gets. Like
Steve spoke about for Ireland about being competitive. Naturally, get that win. How important is the win this weekend? It is.
You don't go into any game thinking you're going to lose. It's you want to win every game, but. It's like a sort of the journey that Steve talks about. It's about backing up performances, building on the one from before. So, if we keep moving on the right trajectory, you'll get to a place where the wins will sort of look after themselves. But from where we was at the start of this tournament, we're sort of miles apart from that. But at the same time, we can't think, we've had a couple of good performances now, it's going to look after itself. We're challenging the boys, and they're training hard this week to make sure we get that performance right on the weekend, because Italy are rolling to town on the back of beating England, beating Scotland. They're a real good outfit. They're not the team that they once was, so it's a big challenge for us.
How different are they to when you probably started out in Test rugby?
I don't know. I've not played against them now. Obviously. They're a great outfit. They've got players that play, in the top leagues across the world, and some real dangerous men. They've always been a physical pack. So any time that I played against them in the past, that it's going to be a tough day at the office, because if you're not right on the money physically, like I spoke about before, then it's going to be in the balance who's going to win the game. So that's no different now. They've got more intricacies in how they play now, and some real nice style of play, but that fundamental hard work and then that physicality is always there with the Italians. So you can't neglect that, because like I said before, like Test match rugby is about winning collisions as well.
Dan, just on Alex's performance on the weekend, what does it take mentally to be prepared to put yourself, as you said, in the way, was it 30 or 33 times?
Well, you want you got to want to do it and like will yourself to do it when you don't feel like doing it. Do you know what I mean? But there's not only like, you know, Alex, there's other boys in the squad that are putting in some big shifts, and it's probably a lot of the unseen work that people don't see, and the boys are still doing it, and that what creates a good vibe and a good feeling. So you're seeing someone else put that extra effort in, gives you that energy for you to put that extra effort in, and it's contagious. So yeah, like you got to want to do it and probably love doing it as well, because it's a tough place to keep throwing yourself into that. And like, there's no doubt you'll be pretty sore and banged up a couple of days after that. But that's what Test match rugby's about. But there's some real big shifts on the weekend, not just through him. You know, look at Dewi as our leader, the amount of shots he was getting through, and you know, well, everyone to a man, they put in like real big. But yeah, I can't credit Manny enough for his work ethic. You know, he's really good.
On that, I was going to ask you, what's the key to recovery after a performance like that, getting your shoulders and probably everything else back working again?
Yeah, like, to be fair, we got amazing facilities up here. You know, your ice baths, your saunas. You know, the boys are, you know, real dialed in with that. Your nutrition, make sure everything that you can be doing, you're doing to get your body right. You know, there's no sort of secrets on how to do it, but you've got to do it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, obviously, like, the more test matches you play, I don't say get used to getting hit, but like you get used to that speed and that collision. So I think we've just potentially with a couple of players who sort of mentioning, they're sort of scratching the surface how good they could be, which is really exciting.
You mentioned other players there. I just want to pick up on Dafydd Jenkins. If you add up tackles, carries, and rucks hit, he's hit more than anybody else in this tournament. You combine that stat. Just tell me what you've made of him while you've been working with him.
Yeah, he's the ultimate pro. You know, you see early mornings going in, doing his extras, doing his rehab, making sure that he's left no stone unturned. I could see that from when I was in the squad as a player, and probably the scariest thing was the fact that I played with his father as well, so it did make me feel old at the time. But no, he's got a good head on young shoulders, and to be fair, he puts the work in, and there's no shortcuts with that. He makes sure he does everything he can to get the most out of his body, and you can see that the amount of efforts he's churning out week in, week out, not only at international level but down at Exeter as well. And that's why obviously he's captain in the side down there for so many times for like such a young guy. Who's he, 23, 24? I'm not sure of his age, but you know, he's real young to have that mindset on young shoulders. But no, he's been class. Like, you can't fault, you know, his work ethic, and like you say, his stats, they speak for himself. Like, and to be fair, you have like Ben Carter coming in the squad the last two games starting, and them two, you know, you talk about stats, you know, Ben's matching the stats up as well. So, you know, you get people like that in your team that are getting through a lot of work. You know, if everyone else starts up in their game as well, so it's keeps pushing the bar forward.
Just lastly from me, I think in terms of results, it's been difficult of late. I mean, you'll have experienced this in your career, but you also experienced some sort of incredible highs as well. Have you got anything that you can impart on these players now? Anything from your playing days that you think can help them sort of try and get out of this sort of funk in terms of results?
Yeah, it's one of those. Like, I think everything will like, sort of look after itself going forward, as long as the boys keep doing what they're doing, keep putting in the effort in. You know, you talk about like experiencing amazing highs in rugby, which I've been fortunate to do, but for every high there's been 10 lows. So like, but that's what you're always chasing, that euphoria, that high, that you'll get there, because when it does come, especially when you've been through tough times, it feels so much sweeter when you actually get those moments. But for me in my career, you know, they've been quite far and few between. Obviously, I would like to experience more, but like I said, like through injury and stuff, it's never just smooth sailing. There's a lot of choppy water out there, and but long as the boys just keep trying to keep their focus and keep looking to the sort of the horizon, everything will sort of fall into place. But yeah, the boys are in good spirits, but things don't just happen overnight. It's through, not just what they do in this campaign, it's what they do when they go back to their clubs. Like we talk about, keep pushing everything forward. You can't sort of stay still in this game, because you soon get overtaken, and potentially where we've been in the last couple of years, we've been, we're behind the races, so it's how quick we can sort of catch up.
Okay, Ben, then Rob, sorry. You both put your hand up at the same time.
Dan, Steve was full of praise for the work you've done around the contact area. How would you sort of describe what that work is? Because I think most of the rucks on Friday night, you actually stayed out of it. I think it was 94%, just one man in there defensively. And very disciplined performance in that sort of.
Yeah, obviously, at the start of the tournament, we were giving away quite a few penalties. We're working hard on our discipline so that we are, really competitive in that area. But, the boys that are in the collisions are giving everything that they've got. So allows us to obviously get set and get after the next one. And then you see, like we spoke about, Manny putting in a shot, Dewi putting in a shot. It just breeds sort of, I want to be the next guy, and then that's like infectious. And the other big thing is having trust, knowing that the guys beside you are going to do their work, so you're not second guessing, do I have to jump in that? Knowing, trusting that they're going to do their job. When it comes to my effort, I'm going to do my job. And that's what you're sort of trying to build. But leading into this week, it sort of doesn't mean a lot if we're giving away stupid amount of penalties again. So, it's trusting what we're doing, but like, is there another level in us? Is there another gear in us? Which I think there is.
How would you define this defensive system? Because it was aggressive on Friday, but it probably wasn't an out-and-out blitz, was it?
No, we're not trying to be reckless. It's trying to. Obviously, there's times and places where you can get off a line, but obviously making good decisions. International rugby, you have split seconds to make good decisions. So, we're trying to train how the international game is. So, more often than not, you're put in front in those situations that you start making better decisions, not guessing. So, yeah, I think that's what it is.
Rob?
As the out-and-out number 6 in arguably one of the greatest Welsh back rows of all time, you knew exactly what your job is. We're seeing mix and match across the back row, whether it's Jack playing 8 or 6 or 7, or James playing 6 or 7, or Manny coming across. Is that difficult to do?
As a individual, or as a it's I think a big thing is about you talk about like your connection, and so if I played in a back row, I kind of know what the other guy in that back row was going to deliver, so it's all like fitting the pieces of the puzzles together. And then once you get that sort of synergy, probably what numbers on your back doesn't really matter, because you know what the other guy in that back row is going to give. Same across any sort of positional pairing. If it's your centres, if it's your second rows, if it's your front row, you sort of try and complement each other. So yeah, it's we've probably gone through a bit of a transition and figuring out who are the best combinations, and we're probably still on that journey a bit. Especially in the style of play that we're trying to play these days, and the way the international game's gone. But the last couple of performances, boys have like put in some big shifts, and you can start to see like them complement each other, and the boys coming off the bench as well, how that dynamic works in terms of adding to the boys on the field, not coming on and messing everything up sort of thing. And obviously the boys that haven't been involved in the Six Nations up to now, like how they've fallen into it when they get their chance as well. So yeah, it takes time. Like, it doesn't happen overnight, especially if you've never played with a person before. Whereas sort of years gone by, you're not tried and trusted, but that once the partnerships fell into place, then they sort of, you stick with them like any sort of good teams, because they're going to sort of deliver.
I guess both of them and playing together at Cardiff helps. But we saw Alex play open side so well, and go back to 6 again and put in another stellar shift.
Yeah, like I can't speak for Alex, but like he's a very good rugby player first and foremost. So, like I said, no matter the number that's on his back, you know what he's going to deliver. It may be wearing a different number, but he's going to still deliver you what he delivers in that jersey. So, yeah, and like Jim Botham coming in, he's come back into Test rugby, and it's like he's sort of never been away as well. He's give a really good account of himself. So, and like you said, they play at Cardiff together. So, and then you've got obviously your Jack Morgans of the world to come back into the fold when he's fit, who's world class. So, the standards, the boys that are wearing the jersey at the minute are setting the standards, and like they talk about pushing the bar forward and the performance forward. That's the standard that the boys that trying to get into that jersey have got to set or go higher to wrestle that jersey off them. So it's breeding competition, which is a good thing.
Okay, and we've got time for Graham.
Thanks. Dan, not many teams win many games if they always concede a minimum of 4 tries. Do you think you can buck that trend by scoring more, or do you feel you have to find a way of somehow conceding less than 4 tries?
Yeah, I think the game, international rugby now, there's a lot of tries scored. Whereas, sort of my era of, if you could, there was less than 4 tries scored, then potentially you were going on to win the game. But there's a lot of high scoring games these days. But yeah, obviously from a defensive side, you want to negate that as best you can. And like going on the weekend, against that island, we had a good defensive shift, but we'd want to get the ball back quicker so we can use our energy in attack, not defending, 200 odd plus tackles. So take my hat off in one way to the boys, but the challenge is, can we get the ball back so we can actually attack with the ball? And that's where we want to be. We want to be scoring tries in front of our home fans and getting the Principality rocking again.
Right. So do you think you can win on Saturday if you concede 4 tries?
Well, yeah, if we score more points, then yeah. What do you think?
Well, I think we probably need to concede less than 4. But that's just the stats, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, obviously you don't want the opposition to score 4 tries, but yeah, if we sort of had, how many tries was there on the weekend against Ireland?
5.
Yeah. Like, obviously, you don't want that to happen, but if we can get to a scenario where we're flipping it a bit, and we were having more of the ball ourselves, hopefully we get in a position where we're the ones scoring more tries. Do you know what I mean? But the international scene now, there is a lot of tries being scored. You look at the France and the Scotland game on the weekend, 50 points to 40. It's and Sean's out in France, and if he had hair, I dare say he'd be pulling it out. But I think he said before the match, he said, I could see that it was going to be a high-scoring game because of how the pitch was, and it was like a bowling green, so it was going to be a fast track. So yeah, with the athletes that are playing the game now, and it's tough to keep the scores low, but as a defensive coach or defensive players, that's your job to do, isn't it? Try and stop them.
Okay, thank you.